The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, you guys. Happy Friday, bro. We made it, you guys. We made it to Friday. I can't believe it. And you know, today is a special cannabis day because not only is it the day after 7/10, but it is Friday, July 11th, which means it is 7/11 today, you guys.
7-Eleven.
Go get your free Slurpees. It's not a cannabis day, but get your ass to 7-Eleven and get your free Slurpees.
I disagree. I think makes it a total cannabis day. But,
Jason, I just told the people how to celebrate 7-Eleven.
Hold on.
Go to 7-Eleven.
It's national.
Get your free Slurpees.
It's
Can
national.
you actually do that?
Yeah, 100%. It's free Slurpees. They give you they're like little mini Slurpees, but yeah, they give you them for free. Every 7-Eleven across the United States of America.
How am I 46 years old? Well, 45. There yet. And this is the first I've heard of this. Well,
just a whole nother reason why you should tune into High at 9 News every Monday through Friday, Jesse Barney.
I see what you did there.
It's also National French Fry Day today, you guys. And it is
mine with mayonnaise.
Jason, we need to find the organization, the government organization, or whatever organization puts these days together. Names them and puts them together. We need to figure this out.
I mean,
we got to call them out once in a while.
It's big French fry lobbyists. It's the potato lobbying.
Yeah, it's the tater tot thing.
But who approves it to be a national day?
I don't know, but we need to find a different national day calendar because some of these suck.
Yeah,
it's not your fault, Jason.
See, that's
it's not your fault,
Jenny. That's what I'm saying. We need to call them out. We need to get in. The Cole memo says, "I am the creator of the holidays."
Well, Cole memo, you suck.
Easy there. Cole's a great guy.
Yeah.
It's also National 7-Eleven Day today. It's also National 7-Eleven Day today.
You already said that.
We knew that.
I know, but it's in my thing, and so I'm just going along with what it says.
You're redundant.
Whatever. You guys are haters. It's also Car Collector Appreciation Day.
Okay, shout out to that one. That one's cool.
Yeah.
Here you go, Jenny. National Mojito Day.
I'm not a big mojito girl.
No?
No.
What?
I'm not.
She doesn't like mojitos.
Little lime, little cucumber, little what's the other herb that's in there? Mint? Some mint.
Yep, there's some mint in there.
Yeah. Let's go.
Then today also, you guys, is All American Pet Photo Day.
Oh, I miss you, Theo. I'm so sorry.
Shout out to conservative pets.
Shout out to, did you use my pet photos that have been sent in to be shown on 4th of July? You could use them now because there's a picture of
Jenny, that's a way too late request in the day. Way too late on that.
I requested it on the 4th of July in email form before the show began.
Well, we're getting there. Just is what it is. Just is what it is, Jenny Beth.
That is on.
You know what? It is what it is, but it ain't what it ain't, because here are my conservative pets in their conservative scarves and their Trump scarves.
Look at there you go. You showed it. How excited are you?
Aren't they adorable? I'm gonna miss Theo, but I love him.
Cute.
Jenny Beth, what is your go-to drink if it's not a mojito?
I've been on Aperol Spritz kick lately.
Oh, Aperol Spritz, good call. Cool.
Well, it's also, you guys, this is one of my favorites. It's National Blueberry Muffin Day today, you guys.
You would.
I love blueberry muffins.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
No, but I try to stay away.
Not watch Shrek? Oh, God, what's wrong with you?
No, I did not watch Shrek. No, I could give two shits less about Shrek.
You would love it. It's funny.
Bro,
You would giggle.
Love Shrek.
You would love it.
Shrek has the best humor, dude. Shrek is so funny.
I'll take your guys' word for it.
You're gonna have to hit that.
You need to watch it, Jason.
Yeah.
People tell me People tell me I need to watch it all the time. That's nothing new.
You guys, if it's not on the show on Monday, it's because Jason didn't watch Shrek over the weekend.
I'm not
That's
watching
right.
Shrek over the weekend. I actually have real work to do over the weekend.
Yeah, all right.
Movie night with Jenny Beth.
You need to watch Shrek.
It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
It.
It's also National Rainier Cherry Day today.
Yeah,
Dude,
okay.
Rainier cherries are the best cherries, and I live in the center of where they are, dude. If you can get fresh Rainier cherries from the roadside, you are in luck.
You're winning, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like getting fresh strawberries on a roadside in Southern California or Central California. Yeah, they can't beat that. You just can't beat that.
Interesting.
Hurry up, Jason. Glenn's ready to talk about Glass House.
All right. Well, we're not even there yet, you guys. That's so cute. But you know what I'm saying? It's
That's the hot news, dude.
Hold on.
About
We have even more hot news too. Don't forget. There's 5 other stories today. It's also National Cheer Up the Lonely Day, Jenny Beth.
Oh, do I need to come cheer you up, bud?
I'm very cheerful. See?
You're never alone because you're a Gemini.
That's right. There is that part.
Doing all your other personalities.
All my other personalities. So you're admitting that there's more than 2.
Yeah. You have more than 2.
Okay.
For shit sure.
For shit sure. What do you think, Jesse?
Yeah.
Think I have more than 2?
Yeah.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
You cleaned your act up. Yeah.
I've cleaned my act up. See that?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Jesse, I see him more than you do, bud. You can hide a lot between Orange County, California, and wherever Rainier cherries come from in Washington.
That's true.
Wherever Rainier cherries come in Washington. That's cute. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. We are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are kicking today's show off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their lives back on track. And here to tell you about the track and how to stay on track is none other than America's sweetheart, Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
All right, you guys. Y'all are going to be upset. In a landmark vote, the U.S. Senate Appropriations Committee advanced a proposal to ban all consumable hemp products containing any detectable THC, including CBD oils and tinctures with trace levels. The measure introduced by Senator Mitch McConnell aims to close a perceived loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill that allowed psychoactive hemp-derived cannabinoids such as Delta-8 and THCA to flourish. Industry groups warn the move would dismantle a multi-billion-dollar hemp market. While lawmakers added a 1-year implementation delay to give farmers and manufacturers time to adapt. The amendment's language matches that of the House version and now heads to the full Senate as a part of the agricultural spending package. Proponents argue it restores the original intent of the Farm Bill, which is what Jason and I argue about. This is not the intent for you guys to be able to have gummies.
It is.
To carve out, it's not, Jason, to carve out industrial hemp, not psychoactive products, while critics call it a sweeping ban that could sweep CBD off the shelf. We'll keep following this story right here at High 9 News. It would not sweep CBD off the shelf. It would sweep CBD with THC-containing products off the shelf. But CBD would still be cool. You can still extract your CBD. Here's the thing, and here's why hemp producers are pissed, right? because they have skirted through a loophole. They have operated essentially as cannabis companies with much less regulation, with much less barrier to entry. And it's because it's really expensive to do a product formulary where you are fully remediating and removing all THC and psychoactive portions of the plant, right? To isolate CBD and then reformulate using just CBD or doing something that doesn't contain any at all is a lot more expensive than just saying, hey, whatever, it came out how it came out, let's test it and cross our fingers, and then just say it's below the threshold. So, hey, it looks like this is going somewhere, Jason. I'm going to throw it back to you, but the Senate, listen, we're sitting here with a Republican president, a Republican Senate, and a Republican House. We haven't had that before. So watching it pass the Senate with such ease means the House is probably next.
It didn't pass the Senate. It passed the Senate committee.
Yeah, well, it's going to pass.
No,
we'll
it's
see.
not. No, it's not.
You're upset, Jason. You're upset.
I'm not upset. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why it's not going to pass too, Jenny Beth. I'm going to give you a whole good governmental reasoning as to why. Okay.
Oh, tell me why, Jason.
I'm going to.
Go.
I'm waiting for them to transition so that we're all on the screen.
I don't need to look at your face. Start talking.
There we go. Look at that. See?
You're wasting air. You're wasting air time.
Never. So here's the reason why this is going absolutely nowhere, okay? Because the Senate is where bills go to die. It's known as the bill graveyard, okay? And how the Senate operates is off of unanimous consent. Okay. And you already have Rand Paul, who's already has introduced legislation to bring up the THC percentage from 0.3% to 1% THC. And so therefore, all that has to happen for this bill to die off and go away and never see another day is for someone like Rand Paul or another senator to place an anonymous hold on that bill, and that bill will go nowhere. Dead in the water, DOA, guy, bye, Felicia.
We'll see.
That's what's going to happen with that.
We'll see, Jason. I mean, listen, first of all, I think that our politicians shouldn't be able to put anonymous holds on anything. I think you have to.
That's how the Senate operates. That's the Senate rules. That's how it works.
Jason, hush.
Just saying.
I understand
that's
that,
how it works.
but I disagree with it.
You can disagree all you want. That's how it works.
My opinion is, oh my God, are you still talking?
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
your bubble's lighting up, so I'm assuming that you're still not learning how to shush. Okay. That's one of your many fucking personalities. That's Felicia coming out right now. Felicia don't know how to sit down, and Felicia snaps and wobbles her neck a lot. So calm down, Jason. See, Felicia. Anyhow, bye, Felicia. I think that any part of our government shouldn't be able to do things anonymously. You should have to say it with your fucking chest. But that's just my personal opinion. Dr. Talleyrand, I know you don't like this. Go ahead.
What don't I like? Well, maybe
I don't know. What's your opinion, Dr. T?
Well, I hate agreeing with Jason, but I agree with him here.
Yeah. See that? Look at that. Look at that.
I think that Mitch McConnell is trying to fix a problem with another problem. The hemp industry is providing medicine to people at a lower cost than the regulated cannabis industry. Regulated cannabis is a mess in itself. And rather than fix the whole thing, he's adding another mess to it. So, and in fact, the hemp industry is starting to regulate itself now. They're testing their products.
Exactly.
They're getting rid of the adulterated Delta 8, which was cited as the issues, or the other products. They're because they're able to act like a normal business. And then politically, they have more money, so they have better lobbying than the regulated cannabis, who is really behind this. Surprised that Mitch McConnell is supporting the
See, and shout out.
I'm cringing, Jason. Every what you're saying.
I love it. I so love it. I love this, Dr. T, and I love the fact that you can admit that you love to disagree with me. I'm totally here for that. That's the fundamental basis of this whole show, is for people to have open dialogue on different topics, and for people to politely disagree with one another. That is the whole purpose of this show. is so then that way we can peel back all the different layers of the onion. People can, you know what I'm saying, make up their own opinions on what based off all different perspectives and whatnot. And you know what I'm saying? And we call
Jesse can't eat it like it's an apple.
Exactly. Shout out to the Cole Memo who sent in a super chat who says the people at Glass House were minors, not minors. Well, we're gonna get into that later on today. And
2 super chats, bro.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting there, Jesse. Then another one from Mr. Arturo Rivas who says Beck Barney 2028. Man, that would be a crazy ticket, Jesse.
A ticket, heck of a ticket.
Mm-hmm. Man, I love
a super Trump MAGA and then a libertarian. That'd actually be a good pair.
Yeah, that would. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like Trump and RFK.
Touch the red button.
I got nothing but red buttons over here, Jenny Beth.
Yes, and look when you got to press them, what happens?
The crowd cheers. That's what happens when I press red buttons. The crowd cheers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well. I like I said, I think this is DOA. This is a bunch of speculation. This is just going to make the stock markets act a little fluctuate and whatnot, and make people skittish to put money into the market. But don't fret, because anonymous holds are real, and the Senate operates on unanimous consent, so I wouldn't put too much weight into the fact that this just passed a committee. But nonetheless, you know what? I do like it in the fact that it does get people motivated to get out there and get politically active and to engage with their legislators and demand what they actually want. So I am thankful for that. In that sense, that it does get people motivated to do things. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Exactly. In there.
Exactly.
Gotta have a little off-gassing in every soda.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of off-gassing, and we're back. Coming up next.
Off-gassing?
The head honcho. He's got to be the boss of something. My best friend.
Boss of
the
everything.
Craziest Republican on the High at 9 News.
Mm-hmm.
And, the master of the universe, according to him. We'll see which one of his personalities has come out today. Hopefully it's not Felicia. Coming up next, guys, Jason Beck.
Oh, man. That's funny. That's funny, Jenny Beth.
I know. That's why I'm here. Somebody's got to be funny.
Oh, you're just really inspired today. Yeah, she is. She's on.
It's
she's
Friday.
A little piece of work. She's a little piece of work today. Well, let me tell you what else is a piece of work today, you guys, man, because I'm sure all of you saw yesterday. X was ablaze of stories. It made national headlines on Fox News, local outlets, everywhere was freaking covering this. But undocumented minors were found amid a raid in Ventura County cannabis farm. The Department of Homeland Security says that's right. Federal immigration agents assisted by members of the National Guard carried out raids at 2 Southern California cannabis farms, arresting dozens and including undocumented minors in an operation that drew several hundred protesters and violent clashes with officers, you guys. The immigration sweeps, one at Glass House Farms in Camarillo and another about 35 miles up the coast at another Glass House facility in Carpinteria, unfolded simultaneously at around 8:30 a.m. In Camarillo, video from Sky 5 showed a large federal law enforcement presence in the fields with agents detaining workers as several hundred protesters began gathering. United States Attorney Attorney Bill Elisai confirmed the operation in a post on X, and in a quote says, "Federal agents are executing a search warrant at this marijuana farm," he wrote. "Agents have already arrested multiple individuals for impeding this operation and will continue to make arrests. Don't interfere. You will be arrested and charged with a federal offense." The scene escalated around 12:35 p.m. when tear gas and less than lethal rounds were deployed into crowds of protesters who had blocked roadways on both the north and southbound Laguna Road. SLI later posted a video on X showing what looks like a man firing at federal agents, and I saw this video, and this guy was busting caps at some federal agents. The FBI has issued a $50,000 award for information leading to the conviction of an unknown subject who appeared to fire a pistol at federal law enforcement officers near Camarillo, he said, and the shooting occurred on 7/10/25, approximately at 2:26 p.m. on Laguna Road between Wood Road and Las Posas Road. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Rodney Scott posted on X that 10 undocumented minors at the Camarillo farm, 8 of them were unaccompanied and were found at Glass House, is now under investigation for child labor violations. Governor Gavin Newsom, he said, "This is Newsom's California," he added in a quote. First responders from the Ventura County Fire Department responded to the scene on reports of a multi-casualty incident, but were forced to set up a triage system for people injured by tear gas at a safe distance from the ongoing operation. And 5 people, according to the Los Angeles Times, were taken to the hospital. And the Ventura fire officials said in a statement that their presence was solely to provide medical aid and that the department has no connection with federal immigration enforcement actions. Similarly, Ventura County Sheriff's deputies were deployed to control traffic, but told the Times they were not involved in the federal operation. By around 6:30 p.m., some 200 protesters were still at the site where more than 36 troops, many holding shields, and federal agents stood their ground. During the Carpinteria operation, Congressman Salud Carbajal, Democrat from Santa Barbara, attempted to enter the area cordoned off by federal agents, but was denied access and turned around. Video from local news station KEYT showed that. Carbajal released a statement following the enforcement operation in which he described a troubling lack of transparency from the Department of Homeland Security since the Trump administration began its high-profile immigration busts in California. And in a quote, "I will be demanding answers from the Department of Homeland Security to find out who they detained and where the detainees are being taken," the statement reads in part. "These militarized ICE raids are not how you keep our community safe, and this kind of chaos only traumatizes families and tears communities apart." Just before 8 p.m., DHS officials reposted video originally put on X by Governor Gavin Newsom, in which he referenced President Trump's Newscum name for governor and then calls the president the real scum. In a quote, "Why are there children working at a marijuana facility?" Gavin, DHS posts read. And Mark Coeds, who is an investigator in Glass House Farms, which claims, an investor in Glass House Farms, which claims to be the largest legal cannabis cultivator in the world, called the raids beyond outrageous, the Times reported. For its part, Glass House released a short statement on X reading, in quotes, "Glass House Farms were visited today by ICE officials. The company fully complied with agent search warrants and will provide further updates if necessary. While it's unclear how many undocumented workers and protesters were detained, DHS released a statement saying DHS law enforcement is executing criminal warrants at a marijuana facility. Our brave officers will continue to enforce the law, you guys." Well. Man, this was all over the news. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. And I'm really concerned about this this child labor over there because, you know, you're not allowed to have anyone under 21 at a cannabis licensed facility. So I'm wondering how that was wiggled around. Now, granted, I do believe in some form of child labor. I think it's good for parents to like take their kids to work kind of thing and, you know, instill good work values in them. But I think this is some really gross exploitation of children. And I have so much more to say, but I want to hear what you guys have to say first.
Well, first and foremost, Jason, I don't think you can be getting that Glass House sponsorship for the show, but hey, I digress.
Full transparency too. Full transparency. We did reach out to Kyle Kazan, the CEO of Glass House, yesterday to ask him if he wanted to come on the show to explain anything or whatnot, and he denied the request. And we let him know that he has an open door for him to come and provide any type of comments or clarifications at any time that he wants.
All right. Well, I'm gonna continue in my commentary.
Go for it, Jenny.
They fully complied. Okay, is that why the agents came a week before and they wouldn't let them through the gates? Fun fact.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I got a text message about this as soon as ICE and everyone got there. Right, it was a whole bunch of agencies. I got this picture of this long line of vans coming through the gates, blocking everything off. And so I just want to see how it unfolded. So here's the thing, from a compliance standpoint, Jesus. First of all, if you are not properly vetting, there is a ID Verify website that is provided by the federal government. Every employee that I have ever onboarded into any facility in the history of motherfucking Everdom's documents have been run through that system. And that will, in real time, tell you whether that person is legal to work at your facility or not. Also, ID checking is very simple. There's no reason why children shouldn't be there. On that note, to the people who are out there protesting, don't take your children to these protests. You know that they're turning into tear gas being thrown. You know that there are bullets being shot. Like, if there's like a peaceful day at the Capitol, if there's a peaceful day at the Capitol where you want to show your kids, you know, what you believe in and have them see a peaceful demonstration so that they understand what their civic responsibilities and options are, that is one thing. But bringing your children out here, especially when somebody is like shooting guns at agents and you know that the agents are throwing tear gas into the crowd, I could not imagine putting my child in danger like that. Like, that's just like, we know at this point it's become so contentious and so dangerous. Like, bringing the young children that I saw scurrying away out there yesterday is just like, as a mother, shame on y'all.
Yeah, this is just absolutely nuts. Glass House is clearly into throwing stones right now, and they shouldn't be. I mean, we all know, did there, Jesse. Especially if you're in Southern California, you know that Glass House is unethical in many ways. They've been slinging backdoor cannabis right out the back door in all kinds of places in the country. We've known that they've been doing that. So if they're going to do unethical things like that as the largest supposedly legal grow in California, you know that they're going to be doing things like this. I'm super stoked that this kind of attention is being brought on them, because if they have children, it doesn't matter if they're documented or undocumented. If they have children, man, you should, as Jenny Beth said, compliance, from a compliance side, wow, dude, you just like picked up a handful of rocks and threw them at every wall of your own glass house. So I hope that they really pay for this. I hope this hurts them. They've done so many unethical things in California that this would be a good way to get in the door and tear the place down.
And shout out to Chris Brady in the chat who says, children belong in the trim room. Jason Beck, probably.
You know, we did get another super chat. Thank you, Artie. He says, ex-cop exploiting California's willingness to turn a blind eye to illegal immigration is exactly why we need ICE.
Nick Bradley is defending Glass House. He thinks it's just fine for the largest grow operation. Well, it's totally unethical to backdoor packs. He's down with that.
I mean, I can understand his positioning from to some degree, but the children on the site is I think the biggest issue, and I wonder if the DCC is going to have if they're going to face any repercussions in relation in relation to that, which, you know, time will only tell what happens. But I think Jenny Beth, you know, that's having minors is a call for possible revocation of your license, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think so.
Isn't that a penalty for that, for having minors, and especially if you're having minors work on a site?
It's got it.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
And how many licenses did they stack to create that giant thing?
Well, I would think that it would encompass all of those licenses. I don't really think that stacking licenses has anything to do with any of it.
No, my point is you can see how this thing was built, right? You could see how this glass house was built. You could see that how many licenses were stacked to make that giant thing. It was a lot of licenses that were stacked to make that thing function. And then, so you're starting with unethical right away, knowing that that wasn't the intention of the law to begin with. The intention was to keep small farms small and to give small.
No, that all changed. That all changed. That all changed.
I know. And then they did the stacking licenses thing, and there's clearly some backdoor deals happening right away from that, right? We knew that in California. And then it goes, and then you have the biggest supposedly legal grow in California, who's also the biggest backdoor operator, right? There's so much unethical stuff just to begin with, and then now you're getting into the fact that they're hiring undocumented workers. That's another level of bad. And then that you have children on site as well. Holy crap, man!
I want to hear what the doctors have to say about this. What do you doctors have to say about this? Because I have a couple other thoughts I'm going to throw out there.
I'm just wondering if this is how they can afford to sell their $10 eighth.
I wish I had a bell right now, because I just ding 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 ding.
That's what I'm pointing at, Dr. T. Is this whole there's a whole progression of unethical practices that lead to exactly what you just said, which is being able to outcompete everyone else.
And it's found in the cannabis industry, not necessarily the hemp industry, right?
Yep.
I don't know. Are the people hiring kids to
well, there weren't any hemp raids yesterday, Dr. T, but when there are hemp raids, we'll make sure to cover it here on High at 9 News, and if there are minors involved, we will make sure to make that clear to the public. But at the same time, it's all cannabis, sativa L at the same day. So is there stuff hemp or is it weed?
It's all cannabis. That's right.
Exactly.
Let's make one rule for it all.
And I'm not gonna doo-doo on anybody for pushing packs out the back door to cover tax liabilities, because they're not the only one. We'd have a. It's only an hour show, Jesse. We don't have time to call out everybody who does it.
Yeah, people in glass houses should not throw stones.
The only reason I'm poo-pooing on them is because of the way that they got there to be the biggest legal grow, and that the biggest legal grow can get away with it and outcompete everyone else.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, shout out to Jason's good buddy he took a picture with a few weeks ago, Steve Pigtail D'Angelo, for making sure that stacking provision was taken out right before everything was passed through. So yes, we circumvented the intent of the law when we realized the intent of the law wasn't going to work for us.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm pointing at.
Did you touch the pigtails when you got to the picture,
I'm not trying to poo-poo backdooring in general. I understand, especially if you're a small guy, I understand that backdooring packs is probably the only way you're going to survive. But that should not be the case with a giant operation that is so politically supported.
Interesting. Dr. Mark, what are your thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
Well, I agree with everything that everyone said so far. Again, the $10 eighth, that's probably where it's coming from, right? They can reduce production costs. But on the other side of the coin, this over egregious outreach by ICE, masked agents, to basically strike fear and intimidation into Americans is completely bullshit. Right? So I think what they're doing here at these detention centers is grabbing, those video moments so they can push their MAGA agenda over the goal line. So I think this is bullshit. I think it's intimidation. I don't think any of those ICE agents should be masked at all. They're not masked because they're afraid of catching COVID. They're masked because they don't want anyone to know who they are. And they certainly strike fear and intimidation into we're a nation of immigrants, folks. Unless you're a Native American, you're on stolen fucking soil, right? So we're all fucking immigrants, okay? Get used to it. That's the United States of America, okay? And I think, yeah, the sweeping, reforms that Trump has put into place here is just all a distraction so he can keep his cryptocurrency scheme and, getting planes from other fiefdoms and doing all the fucking illegal shit that he does. I love you, Jason Beck.
It's all good. I love you too. I know. It's okay. I wanted to hear your opinion, Dr. Mark, on all this, because I know.
And you got it.
I'm with it. I'm here for it all day.
I believe that the people who support Donald Trump are the worst Americans ever. Period.
Okay. I'm here for it. I'm here for it all day, all day, every day. But
Jason Beck.
I love you too.
I love you, Jesse Barney.
Yeah, it's all good.
Too.
Yeah, we
it's okay to disagree. Like Dr.
Yeah.
Mark, I disagree with you because I think that we are in the place where you have a place like Glass House who is hiring undocumented children and exploiting people because there is no fear.
Mm-hmm.
There is no penalty. So they're just doing whatever they want. And unfortunately or fortunately, this is where it leads, is to this kind of conflict if you're going to try to roll it back.
I have a question for you guys.
And I would invite you or anyone else, if there is a way to roll this back without confrontation like this, let's go. I haven't seen a good solution.
So here's the question. Why is it that a facility that is owned CEO by a former member of law enforcement thinks that it is okay to employ illegals at their farm on top of having illegal child labor at their farm?
Because, silly pants, cops are above the law. You didn't know that?
I'm just asking a question.
He who pays the most taxes wins. You were asking a dumbass question.
I don't think it's a dumbass question at all. I think it's a very important question to ask.
I think we all know the answer to that question.
Well, sometimes I just want to, I want to hear people acknowledge that.
Then I want you to make a statement. I want you to say it with your chest, not an anonymous opposition.
Anonymous opposition.
The question.
What is this? A question.
Trying to take down Nick Bradley.
I think it's a serious question, you guys. Dr. T, Dr. Mark, do you guys have any thoughts on that? On why would a former member of law enforcement think that it's okay for that to go on?
Because he loves money? Because he's greedy?
Okay. All right. I can accept that. I see Dr. T. I see your head shaking in agreement. Okay. So all right. Fair enough. And I just have to wonder if he thinks that he is above the law. But we are going to see. And I was actually doing a little drill with someone yesterday when this all broke, and I was like, I think the only way that he's going to have to be able to escape out of this is if they basically say, you know what, all of those workers, none of those workers were Glass House employees. Those were all hired by a subcontracting agency that we utilize to provide a large portion of our workforce.
And the second that you give an employee a time to start work, a time to go on break, a fucking clock in, clock out sheet, you are now circumventing and intentionally misclassifying, either for tax purposes or whatever those purposes are. Employees of cannabis facilities have to be employed by the license.
Yeah, but like there's lots of different like trim companies and whatnot that have a trim force, and a lot of facilities will subcontract with them to provide the trimmers for their stuff. And so I'm imagining that they are going to be able to say that a lot of those portion of workers were done through a similar mechanism.
Yeah, and that's not going to work, Jason, because anything that happens at your facility as ownership, you are directly responsible for.
Okay. Be
it a consultant, be it a fucking anyone in that facility.
Mm-hmm.
If a farm dog bites somebody, it's Kyle's fault.
Fair enough. And I wonder if after all this, if this is going to bring up a potential SEC investigation from the previous lawsuit between Catalyst and Glasshouse with all of the numbers that Glasshouse released as far as their public numbers and whatnot. And I just wonder if that's going to be, ultimately where I think this heads, because I think the SEC is probably the nastiest of all of those agencies to be investigated by. But
Jason just sits around and thinks, you guys, in case you're wondering what he just sits around and ponders.
I do. I do.
Like this. He sits like this and stares at the ceiling.
This.
And thinks of questions to ask.
I do. I'm constantly thinking of things to ask because I'm constantly learning, Jenny Beth.
But you did. And Dr. Mark, you'll be very proud to learn that Jason realized this week that terpenes are not cannabinoids. We're getting there. We're making progress.
Cute, Jenny Beth.
Very cute.
Wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
That
Terpenes are not cannabinoids?
See, Dr. Mark, see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
He was referring to spray terps.
Spray packs.
As cannabinoids.
Oh, you guys are cute. Mm-hmm.
I know I'm cute. That's why you guys have me on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, Jason.
Yeah. Did we just lose Dr. T? Because I was about to go introduce him. Dr. T.
No, he's there.
I'm here,
okay.
Charging.
Oh, okay. Just charging. All right. Okay. All right. Let us know as soon as. All right. Well, we're gonna roll right in to Dr. Jean Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your medical cannabis license in a flash for just a dash of cash. That's right. It is none other than the doctor himself, Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
Happy Friday, everyone. Glad to be back. I've been away for a couple weeks. Thanks for
we're glad to have you back, buddy. Yeah.
I see that the banter is as lively as ever.
You know it, buddy.
Let's see here. So my story today is medical cannabis reduces anxiety and depression. New federally funded study shows. According to a new study funded in part by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, so that's NIDA, medical cannabis was associated with significant decreases in self-reported anxiety and depression compared to before patients began treatment with cannabis. The observational study, published this month in the Journal of Affective Disorders, looked at 33 adults in Maryland with clinically significant anxiety and/or depression over a 6-month period, evaluating them at baseline and then again after 1, 3, and 6 months from when patients began using medical cannabis. Significant decreases from baseline in anxiety and depression were observed, with mean scores dropping below clinically significant levels within 3 months of initiation, the study says. Participants also reported sustained reductions in anxiety and or depression symptoms over the 6-month study period. So I looked at the study and they really used 2 metrics, one for the effect right away and one for the long-term effects, expecting to see an immediate effect, but not a long-term effect. But they saw both an immediate effect and a long-term effect. So that was significant and new compared to the literature that's out there on anxiety and depression. Most patients chose THC-dominant cannabis products. In addition to self-reported benefits to mental health, they also reported a decline in their perceived driving ability and an increase in feeling high. Acute effects were dose-dependent, authors wrote. 10 to 15 milligrams of oral THC and at least 3 puffs of vaporized cannabis yielded the most robust reductions in anxiety and depression. Among the participants, 3/4 said that they had previously used cannabis. Just over a third, 37%, said they'd used cannabis within the past year. At the time of the study, medical cannabis was legal in Maryland, but the substance remained illegal for non-medical use. The 6-person team behind the new study represents the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, the University of Sydney, Kamel Comprehensive Cancer Center, not sure why they're in there, as well as the Center for Alcohol Policy Research in Melbourne, Australia. A conflict of interest section of the report notes that some members have received funding or currently work for companies involved in medical cannabis. And I looked at that company was Canopy Growth.
Wasn't Glass House, huh?
It wasn't Glass House, no.
Okay.
In addition to NIDA funding, the project also received support from the Lambert Center of the Study for Medical Cannabis and Hemp at Thomas Jefferson University. That's in Pennsylvania, and they do a lot of these studies too. Authors said that while the findings in the new study were promising, controlled clinical trials are needed to further investigate the efficacy and safety of medicinal cannabis for acute anxiety and depression symptom management. And the article goes on. The paper, if you can get a hold of it, is much better than the article. But a lot of interesting things for me, because there was always a question out there in the literature whether anxiety that cannabis really did help anxiety, and what was it? Was it THC, CBD? They really haven't answered that question, but they are showing signs that cannabis is helping. They did choose people who had used cannabis already, so there's a bias in that. There's several biases in the study. Even even NIDA, showing a positive effect of cannabis produces biases in their study. There's only 33 participants, another bias in the study. So it's just interesting to me that this study is almost more politics. They have support of large companies like Canopy Growth. I think Merck, which is a pharmaceutical company, also put money into the study, and NIDA put money into the study, showing the positive effects. So this is pharma trying to develop a program for pharmaceuticals. This is pharma on its way. We all know from decades that most people who use cannabis feel that anxiety is relieved, as well as their depression. Those who don't generally stop using the cannabis because it's not helping. But it definitely helps a large amount of people. Probably second to pain, the number 2 reason for using cannabis. So this is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with I9 News. Thoughts on the study? Happy to answer any question.
Wow. It's pain. They are bringing the
anxiety.
Oh, anxiety.
And depression.
Anxiety and depression.
Which are all, to be fair, Jason, are both a pain.
Fair enough. What do you think, Jenny?
I mean, this is the second anxiety study that we've done this week, and I think that's freaking great. Like, as someone who has anxiety, it's chill now, but when I was first diagnosed, like, it was a whole problem. It was something I hadn't dealt with before ever in my life. I've been a fully functioning adult, and then after some unfortunate situations, it popped up after some PTSD diagnosis. So I think that anything that we can do that is natural to help, because like I won't take benzos. I'm not gonna. They tried to give me Klonopin because of course they did, right, Dr. T? And I never I refused to fill the prescription. I'm like, you guys you can save your little piece of paper here, but I'm not going to fill it. So
have you tried CBD?
I have rubbed some CBD on it. For me, I was dabbing. That was what kind of was my thing. I believe everybody should take CBD daily, like you take your other multivitamins.
I agree.
So I was asking this when we covered the other anxiety story, and I'm glad that the doctors are here right now. How much of this anxiety do we think that could just be more just classic paranoia than actual anxiety?
You mean from the cannabis?
Yeah. Or from things that happen when you are around large amounts of cannabis or smoke cannabis or whatnot. People tend to get, when they get flashing lights behind them and stuff, they, tend to get butt tight.
Well, paranoia is a symptom of anxiety, whether it's classic or not. People generally there could be a reason for the anxiety or the paranoia. But generalized anxiety, often you don't find a reason for it. It just sort of
it's just there
for things, or anxious for things.
Interesting.
And you know, it may be that the use of cannabis may provoke that anxiety too. That happens. So you know, that's why you see consultation. Not to give myself a plug, or to give myself a plug.
Yeah.
But that's why you see consultation. You want to use the right product for your circumstance.
Got it. Dr. Mark, what do you think about this?
It's like, yeah, I think this is, makes sense, right? I guess the comment I would have is when it gets to the doctors who believe that there's such a thing called cannabis use disorder, and that what's the other one, Dr. T? Cannabis causes
Cannabinoid hyperemesis.
Well, hyperemesis, but also the thing I was thinking more was the psychosis.
Yeah,
psychosis, right? Right. So will using cannabis at some point be go from decreasing anxiety to increasing anxiety? And does that mean that if it's no longer effective, that I have cannabis use disorder because I've used all my cannabis credits, and now, when I consume cannabis now, it makes me more anxious than less, I mean, so.
I agree with you, Mark. I think this study is showing that here comes pharma. Pharma's going to put people in pigeonholes the way they like to, and this might be a negative for those who like to self-medicate, or grow their own and have home medicine. So I think we should watch this carefully. This is positive news and negative news at the same time.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder, I just keep on wondering about with this, with these studies, Dr. T, how you say there's that you think that it's more propaganda than actual study, and you gave a few outliers as far as the number of participants and a couple other different varying factors. If people in the professional space, what would they need to see in order for you to say that something like this is not propaganda?
Well, you need to reduce your bias. I mean, I wouldn't call there's bias in all studies. We try to reduce it as much as possible. In most clinical studies, it's hard not to be biased, and the level of bias really is the way you judge a good study versus a poor study. And so I wouldn't put this study as a great study. I think there's a lot of bias in this study, although the outcome was positive. It sort of solved the question that it's just not people getting high after 6 months. They're still feeling better from using cannabis, although a good number of these people had already used cannabis, so they probably knew that they were going to feel better, and they may have been associating the high with cannabis. So it's not a great study. It's more it's more pharma sort of preparing the road for their medicine.
Got it. You have any final questions, Jesse, or any final comments, Dr. T, before we move on?
Yeah, Dr. T, I think you alluded to this when you were talking. I was kind of paying attention to a couple other things, but since cannabis hits these receptors that can push anxiety and depression down, can they also not amplify them by activating those receptors in the opposite way? Is that what?
Yeah, and maybe that's why some people get anxious with using that. I've heard several stories, people who have smoked all their lives, and toward the end, they start to get anxious with smoking, and so they stop using it. So there's probably a balance to it all that we need to recognize. But generally, people do feel less anxious and less depressed with cannabis use.
Right. And then my other thought is that these studies don't seem to ever look at the holistic nature of what's going on, right? Like there could be things psychologically, there could be things in your daily diet, there could be, I mean, even a lack of water, right? Could affect your psychological state and make you more or less anxious or feeling depressed, right? So
remember, the purpose of pharma is to get proprietary formula and make a lot of money. And so they need to reduce things. The holistic whole plant medicine sort of is against the pharma because they can't own the plant. They can't. So they need to have a special formula with special disease where their formula works for a disease, and that way they can make a lot of money.
So that just points back to the fact that the entire medical system really needs overhaul from the education all the way up to the top.
Well, they need to get into whole plant medicine. We need to start looking at holistic paradigms. We need to measure symptom domains, where we look at anxiety, we look at pain, we look at sleep, we look at appetite. Those are all the things that the endocannabinoid system affects. And so when you're taking THC, it's not just your anxiety, it's all the symptom domains. And when it's your anxiety, if you're in pain, sometimes it makes you more depressed, and so you have to look at the whole person. And that what's beautiful about plants is that the whole plant really works on multiple symptom domains. You're going to get me going down a rabbit hole. I'm trying not to.
Well, that's the rabbit hole we always want to go down.
we love a good rabbit hole. But speaking of which, Dr. Mark, you did bring up a thing of how you think that doctors are overdiagnosing this cannabis use disorder, and there was an opinion piece that came out earlier this week from a doctor that was saying how I was going to cover it, but because it was an opinion piece, we didn't cover it. But he was saying how grossly overdiagnosed people are with cannabis use disorder, and basically they're just if anyone has this subject or that subject, this side effect or that side effect or whatever symptom, whatever, then they're just hey, you fit into this cookie cutter mold, and so we're going to give you that diagnosis. And so they're trying to prop up those numbers to make it seem like it's this epidemic that's happening with legalization right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, again, I don't know. I mean, Dr. T is probably, not your typical doctor, right? I mean that only in a good way, Dr. T. You would hope that, again, more doctors would be clued in to his pioneering work, what Bonnie Goldstein has done, what Dustin Selak, there's a whole kind of, frontier that needs to be embraced where, people who are typically, just drones of the pharmaceutical industry, oh, okay, you have this wrong with you, I'm going to prescribe this drug, just have to change their mentality and change their way of thinking. And, again, I always think about this, Dr. T, when I see these, antidepressants whose side effects are advertised on TV as having suicidal thoughts. How can you possibly abide by the Hippocratic Oath if you're giving patient a prescription for something that might create suicidal ideation in their head? It's just counter to does weed make you consider suicide? Are suicidal tendencies a byproduct of smoking weed, Dr. T?
I haven't seen it. No. But if you, the Purdue family isn't the only one that's guilty for overprescribing opiates. Doctors had to overprescribe them, and they listened to the trash that the Sackler family, Purdue Pharmaceuticals gave out, and we were the ones who were writing the prescriptions, so we should be at fault also. But kind of skipped over to docs in that whole.
Fascinating stuff. Well, on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back. back, you guys. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And again, we do want to give our thoughts and prayers out to all the flood victims out there in Texas. If you are looking to help out in any way, there is a link in the description of this video to Aim High Hemp Distribution, who is doing collecting supplies, blankets, water, all the different types of things people need, money, whatever. Please reach out to them through their website and help support the cause overall.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
I like study.
Yes, and we are back, you guys.
All right, coming up next, get your blue notebooks out. School may be out of session, but Dr. Mark is always here to teach us a thing or two. The smartest guy on Dead Lot, Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Yeah,
Hello.
we love THCA. Yeah.
I like to use visual props wherever I can.
Yes.
Okay, so today my article comes from, let's see, what does it come from?
Some
The,
science publication.
Journal, the Journal Molecules, right?
Yeah.
Very chemistry-related journals.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another contribution from Ligu Song. Ligu Song is a professor at Western Illinois University in Macomb, Illinois. And looks like he also had some collaborators at Illinois College in Jacksonville, Illinois, as well as the Quincy University in Quincy, Illinois. So some small colleges in Illinois are doing some very interesting analytical chemistry. So the title of this article is Potency Analysis of Semi-Synthetic Cannabinoids in Vaping Oils Using Liquid Chromatography, a diode array detector with electrospray, ionization, time of flight, mass spectrometry with confirmation of analyte identity. Oh, that's a mouthful. Nice. Holy shit. What's Dr. Mark talking about here? Okay. So, all right. So let me break it down for you, and then I'll read the abstract and the conclusion. So basically what this group did is they're using a very sophisticated type of analysis. The type of analysis they're doing is a liquid chromatography. So you've probably heard of HPLC, or you've probably heard of COA, right? A COA stands for Certificate of Analysis. And when you look at that certificate analysis, and it breaks down potency of, how much percentage of THC is in there, what the percentage of CBD and all the other cannabinoids, that's usually a test that's determined using a method called high-performance liquid chromatography. And basically what liquid chromatography does is it takes a solution of your material and sends it through something called a column, and the column basically binds things based on their polarity, right? And typically they use something called reverse phase, which means that the most polar stuff comes out first and the least polar stuff comes out later. So basically you're taking a complex mixture of stuff, like a cannabis extract, you're putting it through this column, and based on the different polarity, you're able to separate out different cannabinoids, right? And the output that comes out of this is something called, since you're doing chromatography, you're generating something called a chromatogram, right? Chromatogram is basically this thing that looks like a line, and then when a compound comes off of the column, you basically get an absorbance, so you get what's called a peak, right? And ideally, those peaks are complete, perfect isosceles triangles, right? More tall than they are fat, right? So you get these peaks. And basically what the peak says is that the detector that's being used to detect what's coming off of this column is measuring a compound coming off. So typically what we do is we know the different cannabinoids that are in the cannabis plant. And there's companies like Cayman Chemical, which sell what are called certified reference materials, or CRMs. CRMs are analytical standards of not the total mixture of compounds, but the pure compounds, right? And so what the analytical laboratory will do is it'll take that pure compound as received from Cayman, and it'll do series of dilutions, right? So when you're adding solvent, you're diluting that. So if you get a compound strength of 1 milligram per mil, that means there's exactly 1 milligram of that cannabinoid in 1 milliliter. If you do a 10-fold dilution of that material, you're going to take the concentration down to 0.1 milligram per mil. And you do a 10-fold dilution of that, you're going to bring it down to 0.01 milligram, right? So you just keep on doing dilutions, and you inject that onto your column. And what you see is that the more dilute the sample gets, guess what happens to the peak size, Jenny? Does the peak get bigger or smaller as you dilute?
Smaller.
Smaller, right. So your peak size gets smaller. So the peak size is directly proportional to the concentration of the analyte, right? So because they're directly proportional to one another, if you plot them on an XYZ plot, you get what's called a straight line. That straight line becomes something called a calibration curve, because now what you can do is you can take a mixture that has a bunch of different components and just look at the size of that peak. And if the size of that peak corresponds to the cannabinoid that you have a calibration curve, you can basically determine what the concentration of that material is based on the size of the peak. Everyone following? Right? Well, chemistry 101 here for you. Okay. So now what this group did is they looked at this different method, which is using something called electron ionization and time of flight mass spectrometry. Okay, so what the hell does that mean? We don't know what that means, Mark. Break it down for us. Okay, so here's what that means. So as those peaks come off the column, they go into something called a mass spectrometer. And a mass spectrometer basically ionizes the material that's underneath that peak to form what are called it first forms basically an ion. That's why they're using something called electrospray ionization. So in electrospray ionization, what they're doing is they're using a carrier gas that has a charge on it, and it makes basically a very fine mist where it gets down to exactly just one molecule. And that one molecule then gets sucked into this vacuum, and in that vacuum, there's basically what's called a detector in there, and it detects what the molecular weight of that single compound is, right? And that's what we call mass spectrometry, because you're measuring the mass of the molecules. Now, what you know is that various cannabinoids have different masses, but there are other cannabinoids like THC and CBD which have the same mass, right? Because they're isomers of each other. Right? So you have to be able to distinguish between things that are of the same molecular weight and different isomers. Well, again, fortunately, there are companies like Cayman that sell the certified reference material so you can distinguish CBD from THC from CBC, right? Because all of those are going to have the same molecular weight. But what they're going to have different is in the mass spectrometer, they end up fragmenting into different molecular subfragments of the molecule. Those fragments create what's called a mass spectrum. Mass spectrum, think of it as a thumbprint for that molecule, right? So a mass spectrum for THC delta 9 is going to be different than a mass spectrum for THC delta 8 is going to be different than the mass spectrum for CBD. So these are used by analytical chemists like this group of chemists here to identify what's in these various vape pens. So let me read to you the abstract of this paper. So since the 2018 Farm Bill legalized hemp, semi-synthetic cannabinoids, typically derived from hemp-extracted CBD, have been marketed as offering a quote-unquote legal high. Concerns about consumer safety, labeling, and regulation has brought this now into full view of consuming public. So consequently, the potency analysis of these compounds has become increasingly more important, because if you go to any of these web-based businesses that are selling hemp-derived cannabinoids, you'll see things like THCP, THCPO, HHC, HHCO. What are all these alphabet soup of cannabinoids? So again, that's one of the reasons why it's important for these labs to develop these methods, because when you put multiple cannabinoids, multiple active ingredients into these formulations, they have to be tested so we know what their potency is. So these naturally occurring compounds and also semi-synthetic derivatives and byproducts like things like HHC, again, HHC acetate, right? That's a derivative of a derivative, right? Because HHC doesn't naturally occur in cannabis, folks. It has to be made by humans. So now what they're doing is they're taking THC, which they're making from CBD conversion, converting that into delta 8, now hydrogenating that, and now making the acetate of that. So they're making derivatives of derivatives of derivatives here. So chemistry is happening all along the way, and that's the reason why we need these quality assurance type of testing methods, or else we'll never know how pure or how potent these things are. So the method that was illustrated here validated according to ISO 17025 guidelines. Let's talk about that for a second. So the way you know that your testing lab is worth the paper that their COAs are printed on is you have to look to make sure that they're ISO certified. ISO 17025 means that these labs have basically been, their methods that they're using to test for cannabinoid potency and for microbial contamination and heavy metal potency, those methods have all been evaluated by ISO. ISO is ISO, which stands for the International Standards Organization, and they create industrial standards for not just the cannabis industry, but for all industries, including automotive, transportation, raw materials like metals and stuff like that. All of those businesses produce products under ISO certification. ISO certification is a way that consumers can guarantee that the results that they're getting from that laboratory are actually validated and true. The method was further applied for the potency analysis of delta 8, 2 THC acetate, 2 HHC, and 1 HHCO acetate vaping oil. Using an alternative method to recover the contents of the vaping cartridges, cannabinoids were extracted using methanol, diluted to a concentration of 50 micrograms per mil. Remember I was talking about the CRM at 1 milligram per mil? This is 50 micrograms per mil. So this is moving the decimal point, not just from the milligrams, but down to the micrograms. So you're talking about 3 orders of magnitude more dilute than what we were talking about. Okay, and they were using a validated liquid chromatography, a diode array detector method that they previously published on, and they were able to quantify between a percentage range of 0.1% to up to 100%. Recall that the line in the sand that defines legal cannabis or legal hemp from cannabis is that 0.3%. So they're right at the ragged edge of what we call the limit of quantification or the limit of detection. So here they applied electron ionization and time-of-flight mass spectroscopy, which greatly increases the sensitivity of the detector and now moves that limit that they could detect and limit the quantitation down to a couple orders of magnitude. That's really important. So basically, let me just finish by just going right to the conclusion. Basically, what they find, so they're basically buying vape pens off the open market, doing tests, and finding that not one single vape pen that they tested lived up to the claims of the label language on that pen. So if you're buying a pen and it says that it's got, I don't know, 150 milligrams of delta 8 THC, none of the samples that they tested live up to the label language. So that's the important thing to know. The other thing is that they're finding all kinds of other byproducts. One of the notable byproducts, and the reason why this paper caught my attention, is they're finding a compound called ACBD. ACBD is something called abnormal CBD. And abnormal CBD is not a naturally occurring cannabinoid isomer that occurs in a plant. It only occurs when people are doing chemical synthesis of THC. So in this case, they're finding abnormal CBD in a lot of these samples. And that's extremely problematic because we don't really know what the human safety is of abnormal CBD because it's only made in these CBD conversions. It's not made by the plant. So very important paper here. I think that these guidelines will help ISO-certified labs establish methods for testing some of these hemp-derived things. And I think it just points to these hemp-derived things just aren't very clean. They're full of all kinds of impurities, all kinds of other stuff, and you're really exposing yourself to a lot of unnecessary risk by consuming some of these hemp-derived products that are out there. So that's my story today. Happy Friday, folks. Hope you have a great weekend in plan. Hope that cannabis is part of your weekend plans. And I'd be interested in what my other colleagues have to say here on the High at 9 News. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm so mean when I shit on all this hemp-derived stuff till Dr. Mark comes in here and breaks it down for everybody. Jenny's such a bitch. Jenny's trying to restrict access. Dr. Mark's like, we don't know what that's going to do to your insides. So, all right.
Well, I agree. I think this is great news because it helps us determine what's natural. The problem with the hemp industry is that they're using unnatural methods and making unnatural products. And we want what people have consumed for years, generally regarded as safe cannabis, which is not adulterated cannabis, which is what a lot of the people in the hemp industry are doing. And so I would be happy to use this tool to figure out what's natural and what's not natural. I think it's a great discovery.
This tool is going to inform the third-party testing labs that you use, Dr. T. So like testing labs that don't have adequate methods to determine what's in all of these products, this paper and the related papers that this professor has published is going to help our testing labs develop better methods so we can really account for everything that's in these products. Because right now, the current testing methods that are out there aren't necessarily accounting for it all. And a lot of things are going to end up, mischaracterizing what these things are. We heard a story, Dr. T, at CanMed of a girl, it sounds like a child who probably got into their parents' gummy stash, but ate a THCP gummy. So this is one of these alphabet soup of cannabinoids. Supposedly it comes from hemp, but what I can tell you categorically is all of that stuff is synthetic. Well, she was in the emergency room for 2 days. They didn't know how to treat her. They didn't know exactly what she had taken. Turns out she took THCP. What we know, Dr. T, is THCP in an academic study was shown to have 30 times the potency of delta-9 THC at CB1 receptor. So this becomes a new rimonabant. This becomes one of those synthetic cannabinoids that's going to completely just block or agonize the CB1 receptor, and we don't really fully know because THC itself is only a partial agonist. These things are full-on agonists, and yeah, this little girl, I think, was like unconscious for 2 days on THCP gummy that she snuck from her parents, you know?
Yeah,
So,
but not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, no pun intended. It's just that they're using unnatural hemp. They need to use natural hemp, and that's the problem. They're trying to get away with something by using unnatural hemp. And I'm glad that this tool is there to catch them so that before it gets to the kids or anyone.
That's right. It's all about saving the kids, Dr. T. Save the kids.
Hey, parody gummies better be using natural hemp.
Yeah, we're all about naturalness over here. You know what I mean? We are.
Truth be told, I know a couple adults who consumed THCP, and it wasn't a pleasurable experience at all. They had a very, like, they couldn't sleep. They were up having night sweats. It was just a real terrible experience, Dr. T. So I don't know if it's just the kids. It's, you know, this can happen in adults too.
Anyone, yeah, agreed.
You know, while we're on this topic, I think it's a perfect time for us to transition to our next commercial, because this topic is going to continue into Jesse's story, which is going to come up next. And so we're going to roll to our final commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Oh, yes, and we are back, you guys. We are back.
All right, you guys, listen here. Coming up next, the founder of Barney Design Co. Balding, bold, and backed by Gwen. The big grandpa energy at the High at 9 News with industry receipts to match, whether Nick believes it or not. Move over, Cannabumps. Here comes Jesse Barney.
Yeah.
Or here comes the death bar.
Yeah. Oh man, this is classic, bro. This is classic.
Yeah, this is a fun story of somebody who's just dumber than a box of rocks. And it comes out of Buffalo, New York, which I think is where most people who are dumber than a box of rocks live. Parent charged after 2-year-old overdoses on marijuana edible labeled death bar. So out of Buffalo, Cattaraugus County parent, and I had to look that up because it looks like Cattaraugus or Cattaraugus, but it's Cattaraugus County. A Cattaraugus County parent was charged after a 2-year-old allegedly overdosed on a marijuana edible while unsupervised, Olean police said Thursday. The alleged incident happened on June 26th. Police responded to a residence where a child was in distress and said they discovered the child ingested a part of a marijuana edible labeled death bar. The child was transported to O'Shea Children's Hospital in Buffalo for treatment and recovered, of course, because they're not going to die from this cannabis, as we know. The parent, who was not immediately identified by police, was charged with acting in a manner injurious to a child under 17, which is a misdemeanor. Child Protective Services in Cattaraugus County also investigated the incident. Please keep any type of edible locked up in your home, the Olean Police Department wrote. Most edibles appear to children as candy. So it's a short story, short and bitter, not sweet, as these dumb parents keep making a bad name for cannabis users by being stupid and leaving very high high potency edibles labeled death bars out for their children to find and eat.
Why would they call this thing a freaking death bar, Jesse? Like, they obviously haven't.
Also, it survived, Jason, so it's false advertisement.
Well, they obviously haven't consulted with Barney Design Co. on their branding needs.
Correct. That's part of why this story works for me, is because it's totally it's a big branding, and there's a lot of this in the cannabis industry, where there's this kind of youthful teenage
stupid.
Stupid is what we would call juvenile, is another word for it. Sort of branding where they use these really goofy concepts and
I bet it was a bite off of Star Wars and probably shaped like the Death Star, and they called it the Death Bar, and it's it just called a Death Bar.
Yeah, it's called a Death Bar.
Is it shaped like a coffin?
No, we have an image of it in the thumbnail of our
okay, hold on.
show today. There's actually
they're just like the normal package bar.
It's a normal package. It just says Death Bar, and then there's like a guy in the corner being like, it's like saying some euphemism about death.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's just a terrible it's a branding misnomer. It's a horrible.
Raise your hand, guys, if you thought that this branding was going to be on point. Okay, me neither. So Dr. T, Dr. Mark, Jesse, we've all had 2-year-olds. You can't leave them alone. You specifically don't leave them alone. When things are quiet, nothing is calm in your home. I promise you, something is happening that is fucking terrible. And hopefully it's not a child eating your death bar. Like, this is just absolutely irresponsible. This is bad parenting. I try not to speak on other people's parenting, but this is a fuck up. Like, an egregious fuck up. And, like, thank God it was just cannabis, because God forbid they left the Tylenol out.
Yeah, if they would have left Tylenol, it'd been a whole nother story. Go ahead, Dr. T, please.
As Mark pointed out, don't buy it yourself. I mean, this could be bad for you too. If this is an adulterated hemp product, don't buy it. That's crazy. I mean, you could end up in the ER too.
Well, euthanasia is permitted in a few states now. Just saying.
Yeah, so I just looked this back up because I wanted to get more on this. So it's quoting Pulp Fiction when Samuel L. Jackson says, "You want to die, motherfucker?" And that's what it's quoting, and it's a 3,000 milligram bar.
3,000 milligrams. Wow.
With 15 pieces.
Yeah.
So you're talking one little piece is well over 200 milligrams, almost 300 milligrams. So this little 2-year-old, even if it just took one little bite, man, got hit with a big dose.
Man.
So, yeah. It does say on the packaging, not safe for kids, but, it's just not enough.
A 2-year-old can't read, Jesse.
I know, but I mean, I'm saying towards the parent,
These people, like man.
The parent should have been. I mean, this thing is clearly. It says lethal strength on it. The branding is at least trying to be clear. Like, this thing is gonna hit you hard.
You keep this up in the top cupboard. Your kid will never reach it. How is this even possible? You know what I mean? Unless the parent is all of a sudden just like, oh, I'm gonna crack open a death bar, and then starts passing out and drooling on themselves on the couch. Then all of a sudden the kid comes over and starts grabbing a piece. You know what I mean? Like how does it even happen?
That would explain being unsupervised.
Yeah.
I mean, not very many people can handle a 300 milligram dose. Very few people on the planet that can handle that without passing out.
Yeah, this is crying shame. You know what I mean? Parents need to be better parents when it comes to this. And I'm sure we're going to continue to see stories like this because the media wants to create a narrative and whatnot, and this falls within their narrative. And I think these parents need to be held accountable to some degree. Now, granted, no kid's going to die from taking cannabis. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you need to, as parents, they need to do a better job.
Well, and I think this is a form factor thing too. We like making edibles, these candies and things that kids do like, and we don't necessarily like taking responsibility for that.
Well,
and that's
Jesse,
part of a brand. That's part of branding.
I disagree with that.
I know you do, but that's okay. I think that as a branding person, when you're putting cannabis in a candy, and it can't be, if it's just left out as a candy, the likelihood that anyone or a kid is going to go, oh, that looks yummy, I'm just going to eat it. It's on the line of like the type of form factor that you should be using. That is the brand. It doesn't look like medicine.
I disagree with that.
Medicine.
I disagree with all that. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why.
Like a Reese's bar.
I'm going to tell you why. You know what? People that stress out without chocolate it's all medicine to them. So, but nonetheless, Jesse, this is the whole thing. This is the whole thing about it. This is why I disagree with you. Okay, because that 2-year-old isn't able to distinguish between a product's packaging, whether or not they like it or not, just based off of that. I'm not buying any. I'm
not saying the packaging.
I'm not buying any of that. The problem is the problem. Hold on, let me finish.
Talking about the form factor.
Let me finish. Let me finish because I'm addressing that right now for you.
Okay.
So the point of it is that as human beings, the first drug that we are given as small little children is sugar. And so, of course, anything that contains sugar is going to be appealing to any child, just naturally.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And so sugar is the problem. It's not the fact that it's in a candy bar. It's not the fact that it's in a gummy or any of this other bullshit. It's the fact that these products contain sugar.
Well, that's a separate argument. You're talking about the viability.
That's the crux of the whole argument, Jesse. Anything else is just a distraction.
No, I mean, sort of.
No, it is.
But sugar is a legal food that everyone can eat. So,
sugar's legal.
Regardless of our opinion about it, I get it.
Still a drug.
I get what you're saying.
Still a drug.
But it's a legal food that you can eat that isn't going to create people's perception of it isn't harm. Now, I think that if you feed sugar to a child under 2 or even under 5, it's not good. I outlawed in my own home. None of my kids had Coke or candy or any fast food ever until they were well after 6. That was a law basically in my home. So I'm agreeing with you in that sense. But also, I understand that when you put cannabis in these form factors that are candy and look like candy, most kids are going to be attracted to that form factor. So it's not a great form factor to use to put medicine in for people to understand that way. And then pile on top of that the packaging where it says death bar and it's all this juvenile stuff. It's just like these are problems in the cannabis industry that are ubiquitous, that are everywhere, that everybody is playing into. And it's something that we all need to work on getting. Like, it should be legitimate. It should be mature. It should be looked at as something that's medicine, as something that is used by adults, not something that's super fun and it's in a candy and blah, blah, blah. It's something we need to pay attention to.
Dr. T, Dr. Mark, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm. No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah.
Sad situation.
I'm at a loss for words. Right? How often do you find that?
I'm with you.
Dr. Mark, would you view sugar as a drug?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So, how do I say this?
Here, let me try to say it for you, Dr. Mark.
Okay.
No, let him finish.
Well, he's
So a drug to a researcher like me is a small molecule that's inhibiting some kind of biological process in the body. So sugar is a small molecule, but it's God, again, our bodies are made of sugar. Like we have glucose metabolism is part of like how the mitochondria and the cell generates energy. It's difficult to draw a line, right?
Well,
so
Wouldn't you say,
Dr. Mark,
that then all our bodies made of small molecules that are either inhibiting or promoting certain activities?
we're made of drugs.
Like if you look at the DNA, the backbone of DNA itself, backbone of DNA is a sugar, is a polysaccharide, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at the acronym of deoxynucleic acid, which is what DNA stands for, or ribonucleic acid. So RNA is probably a better example. That ribo means ribose, which is sugar, right?
Right.
So it's like when you're saying is sugar a drug, you're referring to specifically is sucrose, right? And in general, you could talk about sweeteners
or glucose or fructose, I suppose.
Or high fructose corn syrup, right? So high fructose corn syrup is a sugar feedstock that you can get from corn, right? So like sugar cane is geographically limited on where you could grow sugar cane. Typically, it was down in the Caribbean, down in places like Dominican Republic and Cuba,
Hawaii,
and stuff like that.
all that.
Corn, you could fucking grow corn everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in every United States, right? Just fields of corn just everywhere, all throughout Vermont, New York, and whatnot. So you could convert corn into a sugar substitute. When I say sugar substitute, it's still sugar, right? It's fructose, high fructose corn syrup, but it's not that white crystalline stuff that you put into your coffee in the morning, which is sucrose that you're getting from cane sugar. So this is where, how finely divided is the English language.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at like this paper, right? So this pad of paper right here is mostly cellulose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we know is that cellulose is a polymer that's made of sugar. So is this paper a drug too? It's sugar, right? Or it's made of sugar. So
well, Dr. Mark, I get what you're saying, but let me give you my definition, because I think this will fall in with what you're saying. And so my definition of why sugar is a drug is because anything that you have withdrawals from would be considered a drug, and people have withdrawals from sugar.
Yeah. So in that way, you're right. It's kind of like,
thank you.
So sugar feeds into the dopaminergic system. I see Dr. T dropped off, but the dopamine system that's in our brain is part of that reward system that we feel. So when you eat chocolate or you feel good because your kid got an A in math or something like that, you're feeding your dopamine. So I think there is something around hunger and satisfying hunger and feeling hungry, and something about that reward. I know like certain people will have just a small piece of chocolate, right? And that's all they need, is like that chocolate basically suffices that award, gets their dopamine going. Nutritionally, it's not really doing anything to them, but ultimately it's probably reducing stress. They feel good. They just ate chocolate, right? They got that feeling of, I ate chocolate, I must be doing something right today.
Yep.
I don't know.
Exactly.
So things are tied into that dopamine reward system that's in your brain, which has a lot to do like with why certain things are addictive and other things are not, right? Because that addiction also feeds that same cycle of, I feel really good because my addiction satisfied, whether that's the way that tobacco and nicotine addictions work, or you can be addicted to alcohol, alcoholism, right? So your body actually craves it. If you don't get it, you don't feel that reward, or you crash. When people are trying to go cold turkey from harder drugs like heroin, your body really develops this chemical dependency on this material. So it's different, Jesse. It's not as clean as saying, well, that thing's a drug, that thing's not. I mean, I think, right, if you think about drugs, like the drugs that are advertised on TV, particular medical conditions or something like that, they took that drug through clinical trials and showed that on a statistically significant swath of the patients who get this disease in the population, that that drug will be effective more times than it's not effective. So in that, the definition of a drug is an active ingredient that goes through clinical trials. Was sugar ever taken through clinical trials? No. But, again, just to go back to your point, Jesse, which is that does sugar interact in the body to create this dopamine award sensation of, oh man, I feel really good now that I've had sugar on my Cheerios, man, I could get on with the rest of my day, right? So like, I don't even know what the question was, right? You asked if sugar was a drug, right?
Yes, sugar is a drug. Yes, we said yes because it creates a withdrawal.
I mean, it seems to me that what you're saying is that technically in the scientific community, there would be a statement of like, not really, because too many things are quote unquote sugar, or that's too general of a term. But if you got very specific, and if I said, well, fructose, glucose, and sucrose, those are small molecules that go into your body and promote and stop certain activities. Right. Now you're getting closer to that technical definition that you early on spoke of, right? And so you're like, now you're on the line of, yeah, it kind of is a drug, but we don't really have studies or science specifically around that, is what you're saying.
Well, it's acting like a drug in our body, but yeah, I mean, sugar, you don't go to a drugstore and get a prescription for sugar, right? You can just go to the...
You don't need to.
Station at your local Starbucks and open a couple packs, right?
And that's, I think, what we're talking about as the problem is that we have this set of definitions, and as a society, sugar is this widely available substance that's just put into everything, right, as food, and we just go, well, it's just food, so whatever, right?
Well, and in fact,
what I'm trying to ask, and what I'm getting at, I think, with this is that, isn't that a problem? Shouldn't we look at it more as a drug, as something that, as Jason pointed out, there's withdrawals. If you're on a very high sugar diet and you just stop eating sugar, you're going to have some reactions in your body that are not good, or not pleasant, I should say. Maybe they are good, right? Because you're actually getting healthy, but that's the same thing. Like, if you quit alcohol, you're going to have some unpleasant reactions, even though your body's now finally getting healthy. So isn't that, and then now you're back into this sort of definition where you're like, okay, well, this is sort of defining the drug action and reaction in the body.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of talking about the same kind of thing, but I guess the thing is like, again, to a researcher, a drug is kind of like a new composition that's been studied, that's been proven to intervene therapeutically in a disease, right? So it's something that's been designed, taken through. I think the things that you're talking about is like, well, does sugar act like a drug in the body? Because it stimulates our dopaminergic signals. It basically releases dopamine, gives us that feel-good thing. So yes, it is acting like a drug in the body. There's no question about it. But if anything, think of sugar. I mean, sugar is probably the cause for the epidemic we have in obesity and diabetes, type 2 diabetes, right? Is all based on consuming processed shit like high fructose corn syrup and all those things in our diet that are leading to making America unhealthy, right? So maybe making America healthy is going to be a good thing. But if you look at it again from the point of view that it's not like when I think of a drug, Jesse, I'm thinking like caffeine, which is in your coffee, which again you're adding sugar to, right? Is now increasing your blood pressure, right? It's constricting your arteries and everything, because it's a vasoconstrictor, not a vasodilator. So because it's acting as a vasoconstrictor, it's increasing blood. So there's definitely a biological signal that comes from consuming caffeine. I think sugar is a similar thing, but again, you got to remember that sugar is a very important molecule, and the way our body processes sugar has a lot to do with how our cells themselves, all 50 billion cells that make up our bodies, generate energy. Is through basically the metabolism through something called the Krebs cycle, which is how energy is obtained from the metabolism of sugar. So when you're like consuming carbohydrates and then you go like on a marathon run and your body is running, mechanical energy of your muscles and your skeleton moving, and you're being able to go from point A to point B. That's because your body is burning sugar, right? So sugar is absolutely fucking required for human function, right? There's no way. Again, our DNA is a polymer of sugar, right? So.
But again, now you're speaking of sugar in this general sense.
Yeah, right.
Well, which you made a great example of by showing the page.
Right, but again, I guess what I'm trying to say is that making a distinction between something like sucrose and high fructose corn syrup, which has led to an epidemic of obesity and diabetes, as not being a drug, but being the fucking cause, right? It's right. The drug would be what you would take, right? The drug is kind of like insulin, right? Or what a diabetic would take to deal with his sugar spikes and everything. But I think we're talking about the same thing, and I think we mean the same thing. But again, like to a researcher like me who's actually involved in drug discovery, I'm trying to find that new magic molecule that's going to completely stop cancer in its tracks. To completely stop. To me, to a researcher, that's what a drug is. A drug is a small molecule that can somehow intervene in a biological process to elicit some type of therapeutic benefit to a patient. So, yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
you're on this. I love what you just said, that it's something that intervenes in a biological process, and that seems like the definition that we're really working with. So,
yeah, right. But again, like
you also said
completely...
it needs to be new, meaning there's like a novelty or it's novel, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, okay,
but it's kind of like
in human history, processed sugar, meaning sucrose or high fructose corn syrup, is a novel creation, right? Like that's to be able to crystallize sugar in the way that we do and add it into things in the scope of human history, that's pretty new. And it's changing biological function to introduce that level of sugar into your body at that rate. That's what I'm trying. And then what I'm trying to say is not science and the medical establishment kind of missing out on that definition? And then not, it's like we're missing a whole part of the story. And we're just calling it food. And it's like we're not realizing, well, we just introduced this within the last 150 years. And the ability.
Yeah, so now you're referring to like nomenclature and how finely divided is the English language.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the point.
I'll quote Shakespeare: "A rose by any other name would smell just as sweet." So I think our ability, humans' ability to classify things and to put names on things and to categorize things is part of our own humanity to try to understand the world around us, right? So we could group that's sugars, and maybe this is carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are different than sugars because of this reason or that reason, you know? And yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I guess for the item, again, you're trying to get people to think about sugar as a drug, as something that provides you with a benefit or a high or something like that. I guess my point is that, rather than being a drug, sugar, which is leading to obesity and high prevalence of type 2 diabetes, is more of this lifestyle change that's actually doing exactly what a drug doesn't do, right? Which is provide some type of therapeutic effect. Yes, it's giving us that dopamine reward, right? When I eat that entire, I don't know, sweet tart, or suck down that entire bag of Skittles or whatever kind of sugar you're eating, you get some kind of reward, kind of like the same thing you get when you smoke weed, right? I mean, you smoke weed, you feel high. Okay, I eat a bag full of Skittles. What do I feel? I don't know. What do I feel? Do I feel high? Does it act like a drug?
I think that, well, that depends. Do you personally? I don't know, because I don't know what your general state of sugar intake is and what kind of things you eat. But I would argue that if a person is on a pretty strict, like, paleo or ketogenic diet, and they ate a bag of Skittles, they're going to feel very high.
Well, I think the other thing that you have to take in consideration too is that, again, our bodies quickly metabolize sugar.
Yeah.
I think that, like, a lot of the problems with processed foods is that there's these artificial ingredients that are put in there that our body doesn't readily process, so it stores it, like fats and shit like that. I mean, there's just like, our body, I think, is meant to break down natural food. So if you're eating fruits and vegetables, you're eating, animal proteins like meats and stuff like that, I think it can get through all those things. But, like, blue number 68, it's like, the fuck kind of molecule is that, man? It's like,
and what is it doing to you?
All right, you guys.
That's what I think what I'm trying to get at is that, and I think what Jason was trying to say too, is that there's a difference between a mango, which has a certain kind of sugar in it, the fructose that's raw, right? But it's coming with a lot of other things. And then a refined version of that, where you have crystallized or
it's Jesse. It's the same thing as full spectrum versus THCA isolate. It's the same thing.
Well, I don't know about that either, but when you create this isolated, it kind of is, in the sense that it's an extract or an isolate. You create this isolated molecule that's crystallized that you can eat in this new way that's not historically normal. Right. So it's a new and novel way to ingest that chemical in a concentrated way. That seems very akin to a drug to me. And maybe the scientific community hasn't defined it as that, but it, like, from my perspective as just a layperson, that looks like the function of a drug. Like, you isolated a molecule out of something that's somewhat unnatural, and now I can eat it in an unnatural way. And it causes unnatural things where, now like, look at America. We can eat sugar at a rate that nobody in human history ever has. And look at what's happening to us nationwide. We have obesity rates that are higher than they ever have been. We have diabetes that's higher than it ever has been. We have all kinds of metabolic dysfunction that's higher than it ever has been. Does it have to do with eating a ton of sugar or introducing this substance and using it at least like a drug?
Yeah, it probably does, because, again, one of the potent things here on the business side of things is that there's huge subsidies thrown at farmers who grow corn. And if you just look at the corn supply chain, again, that's how there's unlimited amount of high fructose corn syrup for all those cans of Coca-Cola, right? So in the United States, Coca-Cola is made with high fructose corn syrup. Mexican Coca-Cola, right, is made with cane sugar, and that all has to just do with economics, right? Has to do with what's the most affordable form of sugar in that geography. But, like, going back to maybe, like, kind of like what we were saying before, just about industrial food production in general, like for hemp, it's a perfect example. which is hemp is probably going to be the best way to produce protein per acre. So if you look at an acre of land and you're trying to produce protein for either food or feeding livestock or whatever, if you look at soybeans are like somewhere between 360 to 385 pounds of soluble protein per acre. Do you know the number is for hemp? It's closer to 1,000 pounds of protein per acre. So how do you even so if you're trying to raise protein, we're trying to feed more people. I've always said this on High at 9 News. The driver for hemp is not CBD. It's not paper. It's not any of these cannabinoids. It's food. We need to feed more people on less arable land. Every year we're losing more and more land and we're gaining more and more people. Food is the driver. And when food is the driver for hemp taking over soybeans, now you're up against big industrial ag, like you're up against Bungie and you're up against Cargill. And
yeah.
Archer's Daniel Midland.
Yep.
And check it out. So companies like my old company, DuPont, right? They sell agricultural chemicals, fungicides, insecticides, miticides, insecticide. Oh, I said that herbicides. So like think about the herbicide Roundup for a second. So Roundup is a very potent herbicide, right? So what did Monsanto do? Monsanto bought a seed company so they could engineer crops to be resistant to Roundup. Now, I mean, hemp doesn't require fungicides or insecticides, but hemp might need herbicides because if you have other plants growing up around your hemp plants, guess what? Your hemp is not going to be as good as it possibly can be. So if you think about it, people like Monsanto would want to genetically engineer a hemp variety to be resistant to Roundup. Now you could spray your hemp fields with Roundup, and guess what? Your hemp's not going to die, but all the other
everything else
are
will
going to die. So you'll be able to increase your hemp yield per acre. So, but that's the perfect storm, again, because those chemical companies, they don't really give a shit about seeds. They want to sell fucking chemicals, right?
Yep.
And if you're selling seeds that are resistant to your chemicals, now farmers are going to buy into that. So again, if you're trying to replace soybeans with hemp, you're up against big chemical companies that bought seed companies to genetically engineer those seeds to be resistant to that company's chemicals. It's the perfect fucking shitstorm.
You're 100% right about that.
Got off on this tangent.
You're 100% right about on that. But I got to get us back on track and into our final story. And I do want to mention we did get another super chat from Mr. Arturo Rivas, who says, "I wish you all a fat payday and relaxing weekend. Thanks to Beck, the correspondents, and the combative audience for a great show. And thank you all for joining us so far today." And I have one final story, and this is some good news. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this, Dr. Mark. Okay, because this is a study, all right? And they say CBD use may reduce alcohol dependence and brain damage, you guys. That's right. New research from the University of California, San Diego finds that chronic administration of cannabidiol, CBD, may significantly reduce alcohol dependence and prevent alcohol-induced brain damage, offering new hope for the treatment of alcohol use disorder, better known as AUD. Published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology. How'd I do there, Dr. Mark? The study used two rodent models to simulate key features of human alcohol addiction and chronic intermittent ethanol exposure and ethanol vapor self-administration. In both models, CBD was found to reduce voluntary alcohol intake, ease withdrawal symptoms, and lower the likelihood of relapse. Researchers found that CBD reduced alcohol-seeking behavior during withdrawal and extinction phases without affecting alcohol metabolism or causing sedation. CBD also alleviated anxiety and physical signs of withdrawal and key factors driving continued use and relapse in AUD.
Neuropsychological testing revealed that CBD helped normalize neuronal activity in the bastrolateral amygdala, a brain region linked to emotional processing and addiction. The study also showed that. Say that again, Dr. Mark.
Amygdala.
Okay. All right. The study also showed that CBD prevented neurodegeneration in brain regions associated with renewed and habit formation, including the nucleus, accumbens shell, and dorsum striatum. Is that right? Dormicidal stratum. Importantly, CBD effects appeared specific to alcohol-related behavior with no impact on saccharin self-administration, and researchers highlighted the potential of CBD as a non-intoxicating treatment option that interacts with multiple receptor systems, including serotonin and cannabinoid pathways, and without increasing sedation or abuse potential. They also noted that the plasma levels of CBD in rats mirrored those seen in human clinical trials, supporting the study's translational relevance. And while no major sex differences were observed in the rat models, the authors called for future research to explore sex-specific effects, given known differences in AUD between men and women, and the findings support CBD's promise as a multifaceted treatment for alcohol addiction and reinforce the need for clinical trials to evaluate its efficacy and optimal dosing in human patients. You guys, look at that. I told you we're going to end on a good story, you guys. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Good news.
Good news, right?
Yeah. Well, we know that CBD is a neuroprotectant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we know it reduces neuroinflammation, and we know that the endocannabinoid system is responsible for maintaining homeostasis and other functions in the body. So yeah, this is all good news.
This is all great news. Yeah. Shout out to the Crossfade.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man.
You're going to need that CBD as a neuroprotectant after you fuck up your head with too much sugar.
Hey, I mean, well, at the same time, that's one of the reasons I've always told the people at the NFL that they need to be injecting CBD into their football players to protect to protect from the concussion syndrome that's plaguing the NFL right now.
Oh no, that's what's up. Big time. I just had to bring one throwback for the sugar thing.
I know you like to keep it sweet, Jesse. Any other final comments, Dr. Mark, on this?
Oh, it's all good news, though. I mean, this is a lot of stuff that we've already known, but it's always good to see it in new journal articles and hear it in print. So it's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Look at that. And they call it AUD. Not CUD, but just, the other ABCs and UDs, apparently. You know what I mean? Dr. Mark. But on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution, Tested, and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here and weed for the people. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.